New day and another laptop that needs to be saved, and this time we have a Dell Precision 7670. This is going to be one of Dell's higher-end precision workstation machines. This one was sent to me because it has no power, no signs of life or anything like that, and the customer said that it just like stopped working overnight. So I've been taking a look at the set. Let's take a look together and see if we can get this figured out. All right, the first thing we want to try to do is see if it turns on. And we're not getting any lights, keyboard light or anything like that. Let's plug in the power and keep an eye on the power meter. My Dell power box here. And we just want to see what current it's pulling. So 0.02, and then it jumps up to 0.25, 0.23, so 220 milliamps. So it's pulling a constant 220 milliamps. Now, it jumped up there pretty quickly. Let's see what it starts out. No, oh, whoa, I don't like that. So what should really happen is it should at most pull up to like 100 milliamps per second and then drop down to like 0.02. And that's what it should sit there at. And see how I'm plugging it in, it's jumping straight to it. Now that's kind of indicative of having like a short on the board. So that's not good, but it may be a little bit easier to find if it is a short. I'm gonna press the power button and see if that changes at all. And you see the current's not changing at all. It's just sitting there at 200 milliamps. Let me open and close the lid and see if that's changing. Nope. Okay, so we probably have a short somewhere on one of the power rails. Probably not the main power rail, because if it's the main power rail, it would short out the adapter. But if we have something on one of the lower power rails, it could even be on like the EC or something like that. So let me pull the bottom off and take a look inside. All right, and the bottom is off. Okay, I can see that the battery is already unplugged. So that 20 milliamps was not the charge current of the battery. But let's take a quick look around. So we have our main battery, it's a Dell OEM. It looks like the NVMe slot that's here is not populated. This is gonna be for like a WWAN probably. And look, it has that CAM memory. So this is gonna be the DDR5 CAM memory that Dell makes for their machine. The CPU, the GPU, and then it has dual fans right here. So these machines are built to be super high end for professional work. So these are gonna be a workstation, mobile workstation machine. Oh, here's another NVMe slot here that's not populated. Now, we got to figure out exactly what's going on, where the short is, or what's pulling that 200 milliamps. It's going to be kind of hard to know right off the bat. We can unplug some of this stuff, so we don't have the battery plugged in already. But let's plug in the power again, and I want to see what it does right here. It jumps right up to it. I don't like that, the way that looks. So let me pull out this CAM memory and see if it's a memory related issue. We're just gonna start taking one thing out at a time. We're gonna probably pull out the thermal camera so we can see what is getting hot. And if you've never seen CAM memory, here it is. So the way that it connects to the board is it has all these little pins here, or these little flat areas, and then it has this interposer that will transfer the connection over to the motherboard. But we have to be very careful with these because there's lots of tiny pins on here that can get damaged. And so if you just kind of like throw this thing around or set it down wrong, you can end up damaging a pin. So I'm always super careful with these types of interposers. We put them in a safe place. We usually bag them up separately. If we're gonna have things bagged together, we bag every single one of those in its own bag, so you don't have like screws or other components in there with it. Okay, so now that we have the CAM memory removed, let's plug in the power again. Let's just see what it does. 0.13 and then 0.24. I don't think that really changed anything. I'm gonna plug it in one more time. Yeah, it jumps right back to it. So we have some more interposers right here. So these interposers are gonna be where it connects the video card, because this actually has a modular video card. You can kind of see the lines here. You see that? So this is the shape of the card. And if we look, so we're gonna be able to unplug this video card. So we just unplug all this stuff and that will take the video card out of the loop. So again, we're just trying to figure out exactly what is causing that short, and the easiest thing to do is to start unplugging things. Now we don't necessarily know it's a short, but usually the way a motherboard should turn on, it should be resting at 0.02, so 20 milliamps. So if it's sitting there constantly pulling 200 milliamps, that is not good. Now, we could still have like a BIOS issue or something like that, where it's trying to turn on and do like a CMOS reset since this battery was unplugged, and it's trying to read the BIOS chip and it's not working. I've seen that happen on those, but we won't know until we kind of unplug stuff and see if we see something happening. All right, so here's another one of those interposers that we need to be careful with. So each one of these things are going to get their own bag. And we will always re-inspect these things. I had one of these machines in here, and the customer had upgraded the video card to a higher end card, and then it kept throwing errors, and it ended up they bent one or two of the pins on this interposer, and it was throwing a error on one of the PCI lanes that it was using. So, all right, let's try it again. Still jumps right up to that. So I'm going to go ahead and finish pulling out this board. Actually, let's pull out the thermal camera. That would be a lot easier. We can at least see what is getting hot. So let me get that set up. All right, I have the thermal camera set up here. And so we're just going to be, I'm going to plug in the power, and then we're just going to kind of look around and see if we notice anything getting hot. You can see some reflections already. I don't have any power in the board right now, but we're just going to look around. So we have it pulling 230 milliamps. And let's see. Over here looks like it might be getting warm. You see the numbers rising. It's up to 100. I'm going to unplug the power. And it's going back down. If it was a reflection, it would change when I move the angle, and it's not changing. So there's definitely a heat spot there. Now, I don't know what's on the other side of the board right there. It could be something, but usually it's not going to be getting that hot if it's like an EC chip or something like that. Let's look anywhere else. Let's look around other places. Okay, so that's the only thing I see getting hot. Let's go back over here. Okay, we are up to 108, 109, 110. Yeah, so this is indicative of some sort of component that is struggling to power something else, is probably what it is. So it's probably a chip that's trying to power another power rail that has a shorted component on it. So let's pull this motherboard out. It looks like it's on the other side of the board. We can get a little closer and look and see, but I don't think it's on this side of the board. So if we point right at this area, so the heat's like right around here. So the Wi-Fi card, you know, I don't think it's the Wi-Fi card. It's probably going to be right on the other side of that. So yeah, let me pull the board out. I'll be right back. All right, I got the heatsink off. You can see how that video card is positioned right here. And so I'll just need to unbolt this to get this out of the way, and then we can get this motherboard out. The motherboard's actually kind of skinny and comes around here because most of this stuff is modular. The only thing that's built on there is the CPU. All right, here's that graphics card. This is going to be one of those, because it's a precision, it's going to be some sort of A1000 or it's going to be some sort of professional video card. It's not going to be an RTX gaming card. All right, a million screws later, I was able to get this middle frame out of here. I hate middle frames. I can't believe they're still using these on this machine. This is not a very old machine. Now I can actually lift out the motherboard. Missing something over here. What is this? Oh my gosh. Is this the DC jack? I forgot about this. Yeah, the DC jack plugs in on the side of the board right here and just wraps around. All right, so now I have the motherboard out. What is going on here? This has a CMOS battery. Crazy. They're still using CMOS batteries on this machine. So that took a lot of work just to get to there, and I got the board out, and so look at this craziness. So Dell, it's like they forgot they had a DC jack, and they were like, oh yeah, we need to put a DC jack on this. And so here's the jack. It comes over here, runs around the side, and then it plugs in the side. And look at this bend. It just bends around the corner into the side of this motherboard. That is ridiculous. That is ridiculous. Now, I don't know if that's going to be a point of failure or something like that, but it just seems like with all the engineering, it seems like they would have come up with a better place to put it, especially since they could have just put one right here. Just plugged it in right there, but I don't know. Okay, so the board is out, and let's see if we can identify what is causing that heat. Now, it was in this area, right? Where's the Wi-Fi card at? The Wi-Fi card, I think, was plugged in right here. Where's that middle frame? That middle frame was plugged in like that. Yes, the Wi-Fi card was right here. And so it's going to be in this area. And if we flip it over and take a look over here, let's see if we notice anything getting hot. So what I like to do first is actually look at this black plastic cover and see if we see any melting going on. It says melting. Or any heat signature. There's nothing obvious right now, but do we have a chip on the side? Okay, so we do have something right here. So this is probably what I would bet that would be getting hot. Because remember I talked about it's getting hot and it almost looks to me like, because it's not getting excessively hot like something's shorted, but it's like what it's powering is getting shorted. So I almost guarantee that this is shorted, this power rail, and this chip's trying to power this power rail. Let's measure right there. This is just a guess. I'm trying to take clues. All right, so we're going to be in continuity mode where we touch the probes together and it beeps. And what do we have there? A short. So, you know, this chip could be the cause of the short, or this chip could be powering something that is shorted. And now let's see what the measurement is of the short again. 0.46. So like half an ohm. Let's see what my probes are when I touch them together. 0.15. So, I mean, it's 0.3-ish is the actual short. Let's look around at any of the coils and see if they match, because that means that we have one power rail shorted to another. But most likely we won't, because that is going to be a lower one. That even might be on the chipset. I just want to see what this one measures at. 36 for the CPU. 16 for the CPU. Yeah, so that's not matching. And then this is probably going to be the battery charging, which shouldn't have anything on it. And then we're looking at the 3 volt and the 5 volt power rails. I don't know where those are. So we're going to have to, we'll just jump to, let's see. Do we do voltage injection? Yeah, we can do voltage injection since I don't have to plug in the DC jack. And we already have the thermal camera set up, so that works out. So let's switch to there. All right, so we're gonna inject a low voltage with a higher current into this board. I will always keep it sub 1 volt because that will make it safe on any power rail that it goes into. I'll usually start with 0.8. The short isn't 0, so it's not gonna be pulling that much current. So I'm just going to hook at the ground on the board, and then we will inject voltage here, and then we'll just look for something getting hot. Now you notice this chip right here is not getting hot. So we know that the short isn't that chip. It's just that chip was getting hot when we plug it in, I bet. So, but now we just got to look around and see what is getting hot. I'm not seeing anything on this side. There it is. It's going to be right here. Okay, under this plastic right here is where it's going to be getting hot. We don't know what it is, so I'm going to have to peel this up so we can take a look inside underneath that. All right, let's see if we can get this peeled up. I'm going to gently warm it a little bit because it does stick to the board and I don't want to end up ripping it. We're just going to do a little bit of low heat just to release some of the sticky. I don't want to heat the board too much because we're about to use our thermal camera. All right, much better. Oh no, what is it? What is getting hot? The EC chip. Now, does that mean that the EC chip's coming on and working? Or does that mean that the EC chip is shorted? To me, it is shorted. So this is a MEC 3200, MEC 3200 LJ. Let me inject that voltage real quick again and see if it's, hopefully it's just like a component around it, but if it is the EC chip, then this is no bueno, but we can replace EC chips. That's kind of what we do, but it's no fun. All right, so we're all lined up here again. And what's getting hot? The EC chip, and it is burning hot. So we do have a burned EC chip. And no good, but this is a high-end board, expensive machine, so we will be replacing this EC chip. So let's get this one removed, and then we'll see if I don't have any new ones, so we're gonna have to take another one off another board, probably reball the chip, and then put it on there. So that's gonna be a fun little challenge. So let's go ahead and start by getting this off of here. And before I pull this off, I just wanna show that we probably have a short around here. We know that it's getting hot, so it is shorted, but I just want to see where the short is. And we saw it hitting 200 degrees, and that also means that it's getting, like these things, whenever they're running, this is a microcontroller, it's just running like a loop of code, right? So it should maybe get to like, 100 degrees, maybe, I mean, not even 90, it just gets warm. That's all it is. It's not where it's gonna get burning hot and burn my fingers, so. Now, why did this burn up? A lot of times it's when someone opens it up and is messing with something, right? So because a lot of things are connected to the EC chip. So we have the power button, the keyboard, things like that. We have touchpad, we have touchscreen sometimes. We have a lot of different I/O because this has a bunch of GPIO pins on here. So if you short out or send the wrong voltage over here, then you're gonna end up damaging this chip. So, all right, I'm gonna pull this off. All right, I'm gonna preheat the board a little bit just to try to get the temperature up. I don't have it on a heating pad or anything like that. Generally, you don't need to do that. This chip isn't huge. It's not like we're pulling a CPU or something like that, but this does have a lot of pins and we don't want to peel a pad off. So I'm using a bigger tip on my hot air station so I can heat a bigger area. I am heating at 450 degrees C at 60% air. Now I'm just kind of blowing the air around here first, and then we're gonna get everything, all the flux flowing underneath there. And once we start seeing that this chip is moving around, that's whenever I'm gonna put my tweezers on there, and then we will grab it straight off of there. There is a chance that we can transfer one of these chips over without reballing, as long as we pull it properly. So I'm just gonna check it to see if it's loose. It is loose. There we go. So now I'm gonna let it cool for a second, put my tweezers back around it. And when we pull this up, we're gonna lift it straight up. So I'm gonna heat it up again. I'm gonna wait for it to start moving around. Now we're gonna lift straight up. You ready? 3, 2, 1. Okay, that looks pretty good. So you see how the balls are even? That's what we're looking for. So if you want to be able to pull a BGA chip off and then just transfer it over, that's how you want to do it. You want to make sure you heat it enough so all these balls are equal, all those balls are equal. So as long as we pull a chip off another board that has the same equal balls, then we'll be able to just transfer it over without having to reball this. So that looks good. So we're looking for a MEC 3200, or excuse me, MEC 5200 LJ. Let me grab a donor board and see if I can find one. All right, I found a board, donor boards. This is gonna be an XPS 9530 or 9540 or something like that. It does have the same chip for the EC, and these are self-programmable. So whenever the machine turns on, the BIOS is gonna program it. So we don't have to worry about the programming on these. So let's see if we can get this thing pulled off perfectly so we don't have to reball it, and just set the other one back on, and hopefully it'll be good. If that doesn't work out, then we'll have to reball it, and that will just be what we have to do. All right, now I'm all in position to try to get this done in one go. So let's do what we did before. We preheat the board. We're gonna use the exact same technique. Now we wanna make sure we pull this thing straight up. That will save us time in the long run if we don't have to reball this chip. So I'm just waiting for this to start, be able to move. It does, so I'm gonna move away, let it cool off for a second. Put my tweezers back on here. Now I'm not touching the chip yet. I'm just kind of holding it on the side. And I want to wait until it starts moving again, and then I'm not gonna grab it until I let it sit there for just a little bit longer, and then we lift straight up. Look at that. That looks good. I think we're gonna be able to do it. Let's look at these. Look at that. All the balls look perfect. So there you go. So see, this is exactly what we're looking for. We want equal balls on both sides, and then we're just gonna line it up and reheat it, and we'll be able to, it will still have the right size balls, because each one they're gonna have, I think these are 0.25s or 0.3 size balls that we're usually gonna have on these. And normally what you do is you clear all this off, and then you put the balls only on the chip. And since we have half and half and we did it properly, we'll be able to reinstall this. Now, we have to be very careful when we're doing this. We don't want to bump it. We don't want to move it when we're trying to install it. And then sometimes it's hard to hold it in the right place because the balls are sitting on top of each other. So I'm going to line up pin 1. You can see the dot in the corner here. See this marking here and that marking there? That's going to be the orientation that we're going to be doing it in. Okay, so before I set it down, I want to put a little bit of flux underneath here. We want those solder balls to flow perfectly. And then there's no markings on where we're supposed to put this besides this corner. So we have these 2 corner marks, and that's what we're going to be paying attention to make sure we get it in the right spot. And then what I don't want to do is I don't want to press down. So I'm going to be holding it just in the right spot and floating. I'm not squeezing the chip too much. I'm just kind of keeping it from flying away. So I think I have it lined up the way I want it. And we're just going to heat it up just enough to tack itself in place. Let's see if I can get this to lay down. Yeah, it's sitting on top of the balls. All right, so I'm just going to hold it there. We're going to heat it just enough so it tacks itself in place, and then we'll move away. So preheat the board just a little bit. All right, now we're going to send in a little more heat here. Okay, now I'm moving away. I'm going to let it cool for just a second. And what I'm looking for is that chip to be tacked on there. So it is tacked on there now. I'm going to add just a little bit more flux, and then we're going to finish heating it, and it should seat itself. So just watch it, and you'll see it move right into the right spot. So we'll come back in with the heat. It's so satisfying whenever you see it move in. Ready? Get ready. There you go. It's moving. There it goes. Just sat in the right spot. And now we're just going to poke it just a little bit to make sure we get it to seat right. Look at that. See how it wants to be where it wants to be? And we're done. We successfully transplanted an EC chip without reballing it. So if you use this method now, I want you to remember that when you're about to pull the chip off, when you're letting it heat up, let it heat up for just a few more seconds after you know that it's been moving, because if you pull it off too early, you might have 1 or 2 pins that aren't all the way hot, and then you'll leave half the ball on the board or on the chip. So you don't want that, or not half the ball, the whole ball. So this looks successful to me. Let me just clean up the area a little bit. Okay, let's check for that short now. So the short was on this coil over here, and let's see if the short is gone. And we don't have a short there anymore. All right, so let's go ahead and reassemble, and we'll do a quick test, and hopefully this thing will turn right on. Now, whatever caused the EC chip to go out, hopefully it's not something else that's going to re-blow it, or hopefully it didn't damage like the PCH or something like that, which is the chipset. So we're hoping that this will resolve the issue, and we can get this back to our customer. All right, I got the laptop partially reassembled. Let's plug in the charger and see what current we're pulling now. And 0.02. That's perfect. That means the EC chip's coming on, and then it should actually start powering on. And look, we are pulling 2.3 amps. So it is doing the startup process. This is going to be a CMOS reset that's happening. It's rewriting the EC chip from the BIOS right now, especially since we took that EC chip off another board. I can hear the fan spinning up. This will take a little bit of time, but hopefully we will get a Dell screen. I saw the screen flash for a second. That's a good sign. And we are up to 4.68 amps. So it's going through and checking all the components, checking the screen, checking the memory, checking the video card, and boom, got the Dell screen. All right, so we were able to successfully transfer a EC chip over from another board without reballing it. It looks like it even put it back in manufacturing mode where we can set everything all over again. So this wraps this one up. We were able to save this laptop. I'd love to know your thoughts on this one, and thanks for watching.
I saved another laptop.